Okay, good evening, everybody. So this is a bit of a spontaneous live stream, but I just wanted to talk about the Formula One, the first couple of races, and my feelings on it. Been loads sort of documented, but just wanted to put my 10 pence in. Won't make any difference, but you never know, do you? So first of all, for people that don't know anything about Formula One, we've got now 11 teams, Cadillac being the new team. So we've got Alpine, Aston Martin, Audi, Cadillac, Ferrari, Haas, McLaren, Mercedes, Racing Bulls, Red Bull, and Williams. Obviously, Pierre Gasly, Colapinto for Alpine, Alonso Stroll for Aston Martin, Hulkenberg, Bortoleto for Audi, Perez and Bottas for Cadillac, Hamilton, Leclerc for Ferrari, Ocon and Behrman for Haas, Norris and Piastri from McLaren, Russell and Antonelli for Mercedes, Racing Bulls is Lawson and Lindblad, Red Bull, Verstappen and Hadjar, Williams, Sainz and Albon. So we've got new rules this season, haven't we? And yeah, I think on quite a few sort of forums that have been sort of speaking after the race yesterday, I think everyone is saying exactly the same thing, that it is pretty crap, to be honest with you. If we wanted push to pass buttons and stuff like that, I think we would we'd be watching Formula E, wouldn't we, really? And I think that's sort of where we are really at the moment with it, to be honest. It's just all very fake and pretty awful, to be honest with you. I was talking to some people today, and now I think it was Hamilton that was in the lead at that time, and Russell went past him down the start-finish straight, and he went past him like he wasn't even there. I mean, how is that racing? Honestly, where you've got a button that you push, and it gives you so much more speed that you blast past another car like it's not even there, and he's probably going at 200 odd miles an hour as well. So it's just, to the purist among us will get it. I think it is just so fake and put on. It is just such a shame that it's obviously come to this, if I'm honest. I don't know what they can do about it. Sort of now, sort of the regulations are sort of pretty set in stone, and of course, those teams that have picked up the baton and run with it, for example, Ferrari and Mercedes, why are they going to want to change it? They're doing very well. And someone was saying this about Verstappen, weren't they? That if he was winning, would he be as outspoken about the rules as he is at the minute? I suspect probably not, if I'm honest. But I think there's enough Formula One drivers making noise that it's not right to be sort of at least having a conversation now. I think after the Japanese Grand Prix, there is a meeting. All the the team principals. They're going to be having a meeting after Japan or during the Japanese Grand Prix weekend to see what they can do. Now, the only thing, and obviously I'm a layman. I've been watching Formula One since 1993, and I don't know what they can and can't do with the rules. What I would say is, potentially, within the parameters of the regulations, could they make it, more of a 75-25 split? In other words, engine 75% and the battery 25%. Is that possible? I don't know. What I do know at the minute, Mickey Mouse Racing is not what the sort of the pure Formula One fans are wanting to watch. And, this will probably not be watched by anyone of any significance from the point of view of Formula One, but it's an opinion that I think a lot of Formula One fans share. That the first two races, yes, we've had some, quite a few passes, and I think it depends on sort of your age, because if you're prior to sort of 2014, you will know that racing in its purest form, you don't need all these aids like DRS and KERS and what we've got now. If you're going to overtake someone, you're going to do it in such a way. The years that I've been watching it from since 1993, there was none of this push to pass and KERS and wings, DRS. What they could do even is, if they can't change the regulations heavily, these movable wings, use them still, because it allows you potentially to get closer. But instead of this extra push to pass, just have a similar thing to KERS, if that's what they want to do, for so many seconds a lap, attack and defend. But when you've got this button that they push and they blast past another car like they're standing still, it's an absolute nonsense. And so many people have been saying about it on Facebook and other sort of platforms. It is a real shame. Now, just a couple of other things. Obviously, we're not going to be on for ages and ages, guys, because we just see how we do the numbers. Obviously, the first couple of Grand Prix, I've said to myself I'm going to give it sort of 5 to 6 races, but I think after 2 races you can see already the disaster that's going to be this season, and however many seasons they're going to try and carry these regulations on, who knows. But I think they're going to lose a lot of the pure Formula One fans that want to see racing, because this isn't racing what we're getting at the minute. It's just nonsense, and I just think it's a shame for the spectacle. But I do think, I'll give it sort of 5, 6 races. Obviously, it's a shame in a way that clearly the Middle East conflict has sort of taken away 2 pretty good racing tracks that are usually pretty good for overtaking in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. But so I think we go straight from Japan to Miami, I believe. I think that's right. I haven't got the calendar up, but I think I'm right saying that. Can we honestly say, if anyone wants to leave any comments, can we honestly say that the Australia or the Chinese Grand Prix were that good? I think take away the novelty of this push to pass and all this stuff. Has there been any really, really good racing? Pure racing? Probably not. The first sort of handful of laps, both of the Australian Grand Prix and the Chinese sprint and the race, were, it's just all false and fake, isn't it? And I've said this, it's just awful. You can go on to teams not starting Grand Prix. You can see in the background, I do follow McLaren, and I would still be saying what I'm saying regardless of who's doing well. I'm pleased that Kimi Antonelli won yesterday. It's nice to see some teams, sort of Mercedes and Ferrari, going ding dong with each other. I get it all, but it would be far more pure if they weren't doing it with all these aids that they're getting. I think this is what I'm sort of getting to about it. So yeah, I'm going to end from that point of view of that sort of particular subject, by saying there's got to be a better way of going racing rather than, with these Sky Electric cars we've got at the minute. And that's just my opinion, but it's an opinion that's shared by a lot of, fans that have been watching it for as long as I have been. So for sure. Aston Martin, well, what they're going to do, they've got another race. What's it, Japan in a couple of weeks' time? I assume it is. And then obviously the long break during April. obviously with the 2 Grand Prix being cancelled in the Middle East. Then we're straight to Miami, which Miami is not a brilliant track anyway. Really not for overtaking, in my opinion. So whether would have anything different there. But as I said earlier on, there's this meeting either at the Japanese Grand Prix or after it, obviously about how the racing's going. Now, can you see Toto Wolff or Fred Vasseur wanting to sort of change any of the rules the way they're all going at the minute? I doubt it. But I think there's enough drivers. Even I think Leclerc even came out, didn't he, and said, this is sort of Mario Kart, Mickey Mouse racing, and he's in one of the best teams at the minute. But I don't think it's a good spectacle for the sport when you've not got teams even get into the grid. And you can say, there's an argument for you've got to do better. If you've watched the Drive to Survive episode with Christian Horner and Toto Wolff, and the comment that Christian Horner made about change your bleeping car, that you can say that now, can't you? Really, that all the other teams have got to catch up. But forget all that. If you put them all on an even kill, the racing is not pure at the minute. It is as simple as that, and that is the frustration, I think, from a lot of fans at the moment. That is not really what any of us want to see. So it's a shame. I'm going to sort of leave the floor open. If anyone wants to sort of weigh in with any chat, obviously you are more than welcome to do some chat in the box. But I just hope the Japanese Grand Prix is a bit more entertaining. I know people probably say of a certain age, well, what do you want? Yesterday you had loads of passes and all that sort of thing, but it's not real. And I know I've said it multiple times, it's not real, guys. And we need to accept that maybe some of the racing around sort of turns sort of 1, 2, 3 and 4 was without the battery, but the battery's been used at some stage to get that close to the next car and all this sort of stuff. None of it is genuine proper racing with these Sky Electric cars that we've got at the minute. And I know I'm not the only one that's saying this. There's loads of people, thousands of people saying it, probably all around the world. This is the era of Mickey Mouse, Sky Electric, Mario Kart racing, that we're either going to have to deal with it whilst they sort themselves out, or go and watch Formula E or IndyCar, because that's sort of what it feels like at the minute. Someone's saying today, just boycott watching the racing, but people aren't going to do that, are they? People will want to watch their heroes, and you sort of think to yourself, it's got to get better. Whether it does get any better, who knows? Maybe this season is just going to be a pretty rubbish sort of season from the spectacle. I don't know. Whoever is the world champion will clearly deserve it, and all that sort of stuff, and have the best car and the most reliable car. It looks like at the minute it's going to be one of the Mercedes drivers. Obviously, we know the season can change, but I think anyone that looks beyond the Mercedes drivers as it stands on today's sort of facts and figures after the weekend's sort of Grand Prix, I don't think you can look any further than Antonelli or Russell. And I think probably over the whole season, Russell will be the stronger of the two. It's just up to the other teams to sort of try and reel them in. My team, McLaren, sorry, I'm not going anywhere at the minute. Oh, God, where am I pointing? Use my thumb. There we go, thumb there. They've got some catching up to do. But Ferrari, they're pretty close. They can't seem to, over a whole stint, whether it be the sprint or the Grand Prix, they just didn't have the ability to sort of hold the Mercedes. And when they did hold them, once they were released, they just disappeared off. And I think, there's a lot of catching up to do, isn't there? So we spoke. Apologies for my cat meowing in the background. She has been fed. We don't starve her. We've spoken about the 2 Grand Prix, haven't we? And I did say definitely sort of going to give it, 4 or 5 races to really sort of settle down. So I can't even think what's after Miami now. So is it back to Europe? Is it Spain? I don't know. Can't think what the calendar is at the minute for a minute. But I think, we go straight from Japan to Miami. So that's 4 races. And then wherever it is after that. And then obviously we sort of make some decisions from there. But as it stands today, I think they're going to lose a lot of fans over this season. And I think they've got a lot of soul searching to do, the Formula One and the FIA, whoever makes these decisions, I think they're going to lose a lot of fans unless they do something about it, because people just aren't going to put up with it for long. It's just not pure racing. And if you're a certain age, as I said before, 2014 onwards, and maybe even the Drive to Survive years, which I think it was that 2018 onwards, you sort of maybe can put up with this a bit more, but not the purists who have grown up watching Formula One. 1993, I started watching it, and I've watched it sort of through the, the Schumacher dominant years, Vettel, Verstappen, the Braun years, Senna and Schumacher. I've seen it all, since 93. And this is, I think, the worst I can remember, genuinely. Even worse as a collective than Indianapolis 2005. If you don't know, look it up. That was a diabolical spectacle for the sport, and I think people are already sort of comparing it at the minute to that. That's how bad it is. I might not have compared it that badly already, but it's not far off. As I said, it's awful, it's fake, and it's just not pure racing. Anyway, I think I said the same thing. If anyone's got any comments to make, feel free. We can have a chat about it. There's a few people sort of watching, so if you want to put any comments in the box, we can have a chat about it. Failing that, we'll give it another few minutes, and we can wrap it up. But I think I've sort of said really what I came on to say. As I've said already, going to give it 4 or 5 races, see how we go, and then sort of come up with a strategic plan as to whether I'm going to use my Sundays to do something else, like pulling my teeth out or doing something in the garden rather than watching a Formula One. Both things I hate doing, because that's how I feel about the Formula One at the minute. It's soul destroying, and I'm a Liverpool fan, so you can imagine how I feel at the minute. Liverpool playing crap, the Formula One is just, well, crap, awful, fake. Yeah, shame. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a day. If you want to watch back, the video will be going on very soon. But it's just been a lot of my feelings, and I think I'm qualified enough after watching the sport since '93 to sort of have a bit of an opinion as to how it's going. Just gutted, really, guys. Just gutted, and it doesn't matter whether, as I say, my lot would be winning or not. It's that bad at the minute that it's almost unwatchable because it's so fake and put on. Anyway, I'm not going to say the same thing again. Just, I hope he gets better. I hope the powers that be can see how many people are switching off and not enjoying it. We'll wait and see. All right, guys. No Grand Prix this weekend. Maybe after the Japanese Grand Prix, we'll do another one of these. I'll be in a surprise location if I do it. So come and join us. In fact, I'll make that pact. After the Japanese Grand Prix, I will do another one of these and we'll compare notes. So hopefully you can join up then, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. The week is young. It's only Monday, isn't it? But enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the weekend off of Grand Prix. depending on where you're watching from in the world as well. Another early start with Japan. I was up for every session, Australia and China, and I was absolutely knackered yesterday. So yeah, hopefully some of you've done the same thing as well. Cheers, guys, and we will reconvene after the Japanese Grand Prix.